Hello and welcome back to The Couch. My name's Rosie Jenner and today I will be talking about where I've been and what I've been reading. Oh my gosh, I already made the mistake that I was recording this for. So I recorded a 20-minute podcast episode on a book that I just finished, which I thought was phenomenal. And it's just incoherent. I listened to some of it back. Most of it's me going, in between everything, because I just didn't know what to say. And most of it is me getting overexcited and not being very eloquent. So this is my second attempt. Not sure if the world will see this, but thought I would do it anyway to take away from the pain of listening to me and ah for 25 minutes. So first I'm going to be explaining where I have been. So as I'm sure everyone knows, I was training as a PWP and I finished that training and a flood of work and essays and observations entered my life. It has been very, very hard to get through, to be quite honest. It's been the most stressful thing I have ever done, and here I am on the other side. So I decided to take a break. I really wanted to do this podcast at least every other week, but as I sort of took that off of my shoulders, I thought, I'm gonna have this week or the next week to just be happy in myself and enjoy this time. I've not read something that's fictional for bloody ages. I'm well behind on my reading goal for the year. Let's try and relax for once. So that's what I did. There I am again. Anyway, now that we've acknowledged it, we can pretend that it's not that big a deal. I'm just really self-conscious. So yeah, I had sort of a moment in my training year where I thought, oh my god, I'm not going to pass this. There is absolutely no way that I'm going to finish this course. And I looked on our trust's website to see if there were any other jobs up, and my dream job came up. And I thought, even if I don't fail my course and I continue being a brilliant therapist and I just keep pushing my own boundaries, I need to go for this job. And I really didn't think I was gonna get it. Chloe, if you're listening, you saved me. I spoke to this girl who I happened to go to primary school with until like year 1 or 2, and then she moved away, and she wanted to be a perinatal assistant psychologist, and she gave me the best tips for the interview. I felt like I knew everything that I needed to know. They asked me the questions she gave me, and I honestly feel that I owe it to her to acknowledge that I got this job, partly because of the advice that she gave me. So yeah, I went for that interview and I got the job of a perinatal assistant psychologist. I'm not sure how much I've said in previous episodes, but I wanted to be a midwife for a long time. I then had a family member of mine who was struggling with mental illnesses say, oh, you shouldn't waste your gift of it. And I was trying to think of a way where I could combine sort of my love for exploring mental health and making the system better for people with my passion for women and pregnancy and birth. And that job came up, I suppose. I ended up dropping out of midwifery and changing my course to psychology at the start of the academic year when I started my degree. I had full intentions of becoming a midwife, but my body said absolutely not. And halfway through my degree I caught COVID, so thank goodness I wasn't doing a very physical degree. I'm waiting on wards for however long it takes for someone to give birth, because there is no way that I could abandon someone in the middle of that. But anyway, here we are, and I got the job I wanted, which I'm really excited about, because I do plan on going into sort of childhood trauma and different developmental issues with my own interests at a clinical doctorate level, but that is all for another day. So that's my personal update. and that's why I treated myself to some time off of everything. I didn't actually take a holiday or anything, but I do have one lined up. The research company Mezark that I was helping out with and doing lived experience for are having their big old conference to summarise their findings in December. So I'm going to see them, present those findings, get really excited about all the things that we can do with our research, and have some time off afterwards. And funnily enough, all of this sort of feeds back into the book that I just ranted for 20 minutes about and decided that it was incoherent. So, in my time off so far, I have read both of the main practical magic books, so the one from ages ago that I can't remember the date of, and then the Book of Magic that came out last year. I haven't read the prequels. Yeah, I haven't read the prequels yet, but maybe one day. I really enjoyed them, but I felt they were a bit slow, so I don't feel that I need to do a whole sort of episode on them, especially because so many people love and hold practical magic near and dear in their hearts. And then I read Mother Thing, which is almost sort of a bridge between the love and sort of desperation for a loved one in practical magic and the absolute horror that ensues in the book I just read. And I absolutely recommend that everyone read Mother Thing. I think it is grotesque, I think it is vile, and it is completely, it's raw, it is stripped bare of any lyrical writing, and it is just the story of someone who craves a mother thing, and it's brilliant. But today I wanted to talk about The Change by Kirsten Miller, because I think it's a really good book. It came out in May this year, so I'm actually within the year and kind of on trend for once. And I just think that not enough people are talking about it. So this time around, I'm actually going to start with what the plot is sort of about, so that you can get interested, and then when I have my rant, you can have left by the time I accidentally spill my guts with spoilers. So, The Change is... I mean, what do you think when you hear The Change? When a woman says The Change? And it's sort of a book about women harnessing the power of menopause. And I really didn't expect to relate to the book in any way, or to, feel particularly enthralled about it, because I'm a 23-year-old woman. I haven't been through the change. But this book is just so empowering, and I genuinely think that if we started teaching girls from a young age that their periods and the things that come after that reproductive period are just as magical as becoming a woman, I would have felt a lot more secure in being a woman. Because when I heard that I was going to get this period, I thought, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to anyone. Why would anyone go through this? Why did God or whoever's out there do this to me? I prayed every day that it wouldn't happen until I was 18, or something like ridiculously rare. And part of that was because I was so scared of what comes with it. Periods for up to 40 years, and then menopause. And I feared menopause for the longest time, until I started watching this woman on TikTok, actually, who's like this active, like 50s and over fitness woman, and she's phenomenal. And she talks about the power of, harnessing that part of your life when everyone thinks that you're said and done, but actually you have a whole life left after you've done everything that society expects from women. So when I read this book, I went into it thinking, okay, it's got elements of crime, I'm going to enjoy this. It's got elements of supernatural things, I'm going to enjoy this. And it's got elements of women's issues. And as someone who is very interested in the sort of female sex organs and the way that they develop and change over a lifetime. As you can probably tell from the fact that I went for a midwifery degree. I just think that every part of it should be, I guess, celebrated. So this book it does that. It really celebrates who women are in a way that a lot of people probably won't agree with, but in a way that is so powerful. So we have 3 protagonists, I suppose, and they are all, they all find each other through gifts that they've acquired after they've done everything that they think a woman can do, and they've started to go through menopause or have gone through the menopause. And it's about their sort of peak in life where there's, marriage breakdowns and there's hormones everywhere, and you've had your kids and they've left the nest and everything seems like it's done, and it is not done. So these 3 protagonists, this woman called Nessa, she has the gift of seeing dead people, and specifically people who cannot rest. Basically, they need justice, and she starts to see this young woman and is led to a gym that another woman has created. Her name is Jo, and she's created Furious Fitness for women who need to get all of that rage and feeling and harness sort of the hormones and the anger that can come with the change. And they meet up, and she realizes, okay, this woman is meant to protect me throughout whatever I'm dealing with this dead girl. And then they meet with this woman who's basically a famed witch in their town. She's been completely outcast. Her rich husband has, left her in the lay-by, but it turns out that she's sort of pulling the strings behind the scenes and has just left her past life behind and embraced what nature can give, but not just any old natural remedy. She specifically collects rare and poisonous plants, which I just think is hilarious and great, because that's one of my great loves, is different plants and finding out what they can do for you in your body. And I think that poisonous plants in particular are very, very interesting. Anyway, so they go along and they meet this woman who is almost outcasted, like a famed legend of a woman who's been left behind by her town, and her name is Harriet, and I think she is just the most awesome woman, and I really hope she's based on a real woman, because she is everything I want to be. She is fierce, she is happy to take whatever means necessary to protect her loved ones and to get justice for the girls that are harmed in this book. She is au naturel, she's sexy, she's funny, and I just think she's a glorious character who sort of balances out the hothead and Nessa's not really depressed, but she has a lot of traumas from seeing these things or being led to these things so that these women can rest. And basically they go and find this body, and then she sees another couple of bodies or people. She sees 2 girls wandering the beach next to this body, and the girl whose body they found leads her to these other girls who are silent and standing in the middle of the ocean. And she's thinking, oh my god, there are 2 bodies at the bottom of this ocean and no one knows about them. So they report it to the police, and what ensues is the most intricate, ridiculously beautiful, crazy plot. I don't even know how to talk about this book, because there are so many strings, there are so many different things that it talks about that feed into the plot, that come back around, and it is glorious. It talks about, the morality around true crime. It talks about, the idea that someone's, for example, making a podcast. They meet this character who's from a real podcast, but I'm hoping that it's just a coincidence that the podcast is named They Walk Among Us. But they meet this guy and they confront him about, are you aware of the women that you're talking about? Do you know their names? Do you know what they've been through? Or are you just naming where they died and who their killer was? It holds social media accountable. It talks about how powerful the media is. It talks about how powerful money is and what it can buy you. It talks about, the fact that actually a lot of the institutions that we have in place aren't effective for a lot of the population. And it's not only a seriously moving and driven plot, but it's also very thoughtful and interesting. It goes into detail about every single area you could possibly think of, from the marketing of period products to young girls, to this idea that aging in women is evil, but with men they become powerful. It talks about how, the rich are always going to be the rich, and they're always going to protect their own if they are of that caliber, where they are, too much money to know what to do with, basically. And it talks about, most importantly, what happens when someone is hurt and, put through those kinds of disgusting sexual crimes and maybe is even murdered afterwards. What happens when everyone knows and everyone's in on it because they have the resources to do that and to get away with it? And it's just so brilliant. So the only way I can describe it, and this is where, if you don't want any spoilers, because this is a pretty big reveal, turn off now. I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think that this plot is based on the real events of Epstein Island. I'm not sure if I'm correctly saying that, but basically, if you don't know what that is, Henry Epstein? Is that his name? Or Weinstein? Is it Weinstein Island? I thought it was Epstein. Are they both? Oh my god. I'm already, not aware of current events, apparently. Anyway. God. Yeah, so he sort of constructed this big private island where he'd ship out very rich people, lawmakers, ex-presidents, disgustingly rich people, to do their whatever they want on depraved girls. And what happened there is atrocious. And the book also covers this idea that women could be involved in that abuse, especially where money's at play. And it's just fascinating. But the story, I think, really sort of peaks when it starts to become like a conspiracy of who's involved. Actually, how many people know about this or knew about this? How many people are involved without knowing? Whose loved ones have gone missing and they don't even realise that it's part of this whole thing. It's just brilliant. It's honestly mind-blowing. And here I am, unable to name actual real events that happened to real girls. The irony. But yeah, anyway, it's a phenomenal book. I think that everyone should read it. I think that people who, believe that the law is there to protect them should read it and see if they feel that they are still doing their job with people who aren't as socioeconomically comfortable, stable. It really does address all the different things that could possibly be manipulated and changed and just taken over when someone is in power and someone has money, but in the context of the safety of women and girls. And it is just so good. It's so good. I can't even remember things. I can't even get my words out. So that's what I'm going to call it, because this is why I didn't publish that other clip of me talking for ages, because it just got so rambly and nonsensical. So if you want to get anyone in your life a book that will change the way that they think about women's lives after their 30s, mainly, if you want to get anyone in your life a absolutely thrilling tale with supernatural elements which addresses the different trends in true crime and, you know, the current economic status of certain individuals and how that has affected the way that people conduct themselves. If you want to get people just a really freaking good, thrilling, crime-filled, emotion-filled, sisterhood-filled book for Christmas, now is the time. And with that, I will leave you with this. Should I do an episode for Christmas gifts? Because I feel like I know sort of what what the majority of people might want. So if you have anyone who you think, there's no way I can give this person a gift, there is no way that I can give them a book in particular, send your questions my way. The Zodiac Reader _ on Instagram and the Zodiac Reader on Twitter. God knows how long Twitter will last now, and who knows if I'll stay on it, but that's where you can find me. That's where you can DM me your thoughts and your messages. If you've read The Change, please comment below, because I do release these on YouTube as well, so that they're accessible for everyone. It will also be up on Spotify eventually. Leave your thoughts, leave your comments, leave your questions, and I'll see you again, hopefully not too late. Take care. Bye.